Why Norway is a wealthy nation? How much wealth does Norway have? Where do its riches come from? How did the discovery of oil and gas in the North Sea change the fortune of Norway? If we do not consider Norway's oil industry to be the only reason for its wealth, what's the actual reason behind it? Want to know the answers? Let's find out. Hey folks, welcome back to Studying Scholar. Today we are going to talk about how Norway go from poor to rich. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our amazing videos, and let's begin. So, how rich is Norway, and what's the reason behind it? Many people assume that Norway was a poor country until it discovered oil and gas in the North Sea. This may be a small misconception, as in the 19th century, Norway's wealth was on par or somewhat over average in comparison to the rest of Europe at the time. However, until recently, Norway lagged behind its neighbors Sweden and Denmark in terms of wealth. According to the Professor Halvor Malum of the Economics Department at the University of Oslo, Norway's income was about 10 to 20% lower than that of our neighbors Denmark and Sweden before oil in the 1960s. However, things have changed slightly, with Norway's income currently being 10 to 20% greater than that of its two neighbors, says the professor. Norway is currently the world's sixth richest country in terms of GDP per capita. According to IMF estimations, Norway's GDP per capita is roughly $69,000. Compared to neighboring countries, Sweden and Denmark rank in the top 20 with GDPs of roughly $55,000 and $61,000 respectively. IMF statistics indicate that Luxembourg, Singapore, and Ireland are the world's three wealthiest nations in terms of per capita GDP, with respective GDPs of $122,000, $102,000, and $99,000. The gross national product per capita of Somalia, South Sudan, and Burundi are all less than $1,000, making them the three poorest countries in the world. Why is this the case? It is likely that many of you have already connected the dots that Norway's riches can be directly attributed to its oil industry. According to Professor Malum, black gold has been extremely important to the economy of Norway for three different reasons. There are three primary reasons why oil is so vital. To begin with, it has been a significant source of income for both the government sector and the private sector of the Norwegian economy. Second, it has resulted in earnings from exports that may be used to pay for imports. Third, it has resulted in the establishment of a whole industry that is extraordinarily productive, as Malum describes. As you can see, even though oil has been a significant contributor to the growth of Norway's economy, it is important to note that this is not the only reason why Norway is so prosperous. Professor Malum gives an explanation for this. The highly educated labor force, productive public and commercial sectors, and abundant natural resources have contributed to Norway's current high standard of living. In addition to this, Norway is able to sell items at high prices, such as fish, while simultaneously buying goods from foreign markets at low rates, such as clothing. So we can clearly understand that it is not Norway's money from oil that has contributed to the richness of the Nordic country. Rather, it is what the Scandinavian country did with the income that has contributed to Norway's wealth. The government pension fund in Norway is the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, and it receives earnings from Norway's oil industry. The government pension fund, sometimes known as the oil fund, is an enormous savings pool that generates revenue through investments in more than 9,000 businesses located in countries throughout the world. The private bank is an important source of income for the government. In fact, nearly 1 out of every 6th kroner that the government spends comes from the wealth fund. According to Malum, if the government did not have access to the fund, it would be forced to either significantly reduce the amount it spends or hike taxes across the board. Money from the oil fund is put into Norway's healthcare system, educational system, and social system. Thus, it also contributes to the country's sociological prosperity in addition to its financial wealth. According to the United Nations World Happiness Report for 2021, Norway is the 6th happiest country on Earth. This is in part due to the fact that Norway's welfare, education, and healthcare systems are well funded, making it not only one of the richest nations in the world, but also one of the happiest countries in the world. Will Norway maintain its high standard of living as its reliance on oil and gas is phased out? My explanation for this part will be something like this. When talking about Norway's tremendous natural riches, this is the issue that nobody wants to talk about. What will happen to the country when fossil fuels like oil and gas are no longer needed, or when they run out? Since the oil wells go dry or demand lowers because the globe looks to greener energy, the economy is in for a big shakeup, and it's going to be a rough ride. According to Malum, when Norway stops producing oil at the current high prices, the economy is in for a severe transformation. High-paid jobs will leave, as will profitable firms, and important tax income would disappear. A portion of the impact of this change will be mitigated by the fund, not the least of which is the fact that the government can continue to use the fund even as the amount of money it receives from taxes on oil, he added. How skillfully the fund is managed, in addition to the number of investments it makes, will be a significant influence in determining whether or not Norway will continue to enjoy a high standard of living in the next decades. If the returns on the stock and bond markets continue to be at the current levels for the foreseeable future, then the fund will be significant for a good number of years. If the returns are significantly lower than expected, the fund will be depleted within a single generation, explains Malum. How high will inflation get in Norway, and how can you save money? This one will be a bonus for you from my side. The rate of inflation in Norway has climbed to its highest point since 1988, and experts anticipate that it will continue to go up. The local has talked to people in the financial industry to find out how much the cost of living could potentially rise, as well as to get their recommendations on how to cut expenditures and avoid feeling the pinch. Prices in Norway are consistently ranked among the highest in the world. Statistics Norway, the country's national statistical agency, recently announced that Norway's price level in 2020 was 39% higher than the average price level in Europe. This places Norway in third place among the most costly countries in Europe. On top of that, the SSB said that Norway would be the most expensive country in Europe for alcohol and tobacco in 2020, with prices 120% higher than the average for Europe. Norway would also be the most expensive country in the Nordics for food and drinks that don't contain alcohol. As a result, it should come as no surprise that residents in Norway are becoming increasingly frustrated and worried as a result of the recent increase in prices. This is especially the case considering that there are no signs that the general price increases are likely to reverse course anytime in the near future. What does the future hold for customers, and what can people do to keep their personal finances from getting worse because of the ongoing energy and price crisis? Prices will stay high in the coming months. Analyst Dane Seekov at Nordea, who has also worked for Norway's central bank, told The Local that inflation would stay high in the coming months. Inflation will be very high for sure because energy costs are so high. In the coming months, it will be larger than the Norges Bank's goal of 2%, but it will start to get better as the year goes on, as long as energy prices don't go through the roof. He thinks inflation will stay around 5% for the time being. Overall, to be exact, he thinks the average for this year as a whole will be 4.5%, and it will go down to around 3% next year. He also said, "The rate is going up because inflation is rising, the Norwegian economy is strong, and unemployment is very low, one of the lowest levels since 2008. The economy is very active. Companies are having a hard time finding workers and are competing for workers, so wages are going up, and there will be high inflation in the future. That's why Norges Bank is raising the rate. It's a thermometer, and when inflation increases, the rate needs to go up." And that brings us to the end of the video. Feel free to let us know what you think about this video. And if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for all things. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, and goodbye.